morning, everyone. I thought I would bring you along in my kitchen. I'm making pancakes this morning. I have bread rising, buns rising, and I'll give you the recipes for the pancakes, which I just finished, 21 of them. I'll put them in some bags and then put them in the freezer so we can have them when we want to. And the bread I'm making, because we were almost out of bread, sourdough, everything this morning. And I just thought I'd show you a morning, one of my mornings, here at Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here in Wyoming, my little place is called Apple Cottage because I have a lot of apple trees and other fruit trees. There's snow outside. Hopefully it will get to be 35 or 40 today. And I love the smells of the kitchen when you're baking. I love one of my favorite recipes for pancakes, and I've done a video about them, are the sourdough ones. But I'll put that recipe in the description anyway. But somebody had asked me how I make my rolls, and so I thought, I have to make bread anyway. So instead of making 2 loaves, I will make 1 loaf and my rolls because I use the same recipe. I've been doing dishes as I go. I've got laundry going. I'm going to go down and put wood in the fire because we heat our house with wood. We don't, in fact, I can't even remember last time we turned our heat on while we were here. Maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. We just use our wood stove. And we have some fans and some vents, and it just warms up the house nicely. So everybody, let's go bake and let's walk around my kitchen and see what I'm doing.
I think we have to start last night instead of this morning so that everything is ready. So last night, I put 2 cups of water, a cup of my sourdough, and I'm going to mix that in before I add the flour, because to make my pancakes, I always do it the night before, or I have to let it sit for about 8 hours during the day, which you can do. So then I'm starting to add my flour, and I'm going to mix, and I'm going to mix, and I'm going to mix. Now, can you have a little bit of pieces of flour? It's pancake batter. Of course you can. But just take your time. It doesn't really take a long time. And scrape those sides. Just keep blending it around. I like glass bowls. You could put it in a metal bowl too. Now, here's my sourdough. And I am going to I just fed it tonight. And so then I'm going to put it in this bowl because it will overflow. Seriously, I should go downstairs and get a bigger one. Now we're at this morning. I like to start my day with some tea, but there is calcium buildup in my electric teapot, so I filled it with water, put a little white vinegar in there. I'm going to let it boil. And there it's starting to boil, and yet you can just see it's just powerful. But it will literally clear all of that hard water calcium off. I rinsed it out. I boiled it again so I could have some tea. This does not have vinegar in it. And then I'm going to fill my thermos up too. Put a couple bags of tea bags in there. Put your sugar or your honey in there. Okay, this is what it looks like from overnight. See, I told you it would overflow. I should have got a bigger jar. But it's totally okay. Now this is what my pancake mix looks like after it's set all day. Now another thing I'm going to do is I'm making bread and rolls today. So that's my sourdough starter. The recipe will be actually at the end of the video and in the description below. There's some salt. And with this recipe, you actually put 2 tablespoons of yeast in there. I'm going to mix that up. And I'm going to only add 2 cups of flour at the very beginning, but let me mix that a little bit, just so that yeast and salt gets incorporated into the sourdough. There are a million different recipes for sourdough. So there goes the 2 cups, and I'm going to mix that again. Now I have to have at least 4 cups. I'm throwing my water in there. And just make sure that you're really scraping the sides so it's not stuck all over the place. There's my other 2 cups of flour. And I'm going to mix again, just a little bit with my whisk, then the rest of the time I'm going to do it with my hands, just because I think it's easier. I can scrape the sides. I love working with dough, actually. Now, it can be a little sticky still, but when you put it on your sheet, you can dump out like a half a cup of flour when you're kneading it. And at first it's stiff, but then as it works its way, it gets very pliable, very elastic, and that's what you want. It takes about 8 minutes, just depending on how you do it. I don't think I've ever done it less than 8 minutes. I sprayed my bowl. I'm putting it in there. I'm going to spray it one more time and then put some saran wrap. I have to let this rise again for 45 minutes. I'm going to put it in the oven with just the light on. So I'm going to just throw that in there, put my timer at 45 minutes, and we'll check it then. I've decided to change my starter to a different jar because see how it overflowed? I don't like what it looks like. So I'm just going to get all of that out of there before I feed it. That's what it's called when you add the water and the flour. I want the water a little warm, not very warm, maybe 120 degrees. There goes the cup of flour. And then I'm going to mix that up. You can just put the lid on and shake it. You could use a whisk, you could use a fork, whatever you'd like to do to work it out. I do want to make sure I'm scraping the sides where that flour came down so that just everything gets incorporated. And one of these days I'll go downstairs and get a bigger jar and I know we'll never have to worry about it overflowing, but this is just so convenient for me. I'm going to take a wet paper towel. I'm going to wipe the edges off. Now, when you let it sit outside on your counter, not in the refrigerator at this time, you don't want the lid on tight. It should look pretty smooth. So I'm just going to put a lid on, just barely tighten it. And then I'm going to put it in a bowl again. And it's going to sit on my counter actually till tonight, and then I'll put it in the fridge then. As I'm working, I'm doing I'm doing my dishes. I like to use just 2 containers in my sinks. I use less water. The water stays really hot, and I don't have a dishwasher, so I always do my own dishes. I love doing dishes at night, actually. Okay, it's been 45 minutes and it has risen beautifully. I put some more flour onto the sheet, and I'm just going to punch it down and work it just a tiny bit. I want some flour on both sides so my hands don't stick to it, and I'm just punching it down a little bit. Take out your aggressions. Punch it hard if you need to. I'm going to cut that right in half. Now this loaf, I'm going to make into a loaf of bread. Joe and I really like sourdough. I like to grill it into sandwiches, or sometimes I make a breakfast that I grill it and then add everything on top. This one, I'm going to cut into the rolls. This half will make me 12 rolls. And so I cut it in half, and then each of those pieces in half, and then I'm going to cut those pieces into thirds so that I can start making my roll shape. They're going to go on a cookie sheet. I just kind of pat them around and make them round. You could make them whatever shape you wanted. My bread is going into just a glass pan. You can make any design you want on top. Sometimes I will add flour on top too. But today I'm not going to. So I have my bread. I'm going to put another dish on top just so it stays warmer when it goes back into the oven with just the light on, because it has to rise again 45 minutes. So they're just going to be in the oven, the lights on, there's no heat on at all. I'm doing dishes again. I like to hang up my little pastry sheet. That's just a hanger that you would hang pants or a skirt. And then I just hook it onto my cabinet and just let it dry. So there's my pancake mix. It is beautiful. Let's add some eggs. Those eggs, they will just try to move all over so they don't get broken. There's some milk. Now, one thing you should know when you do this, either you have to work very fast, or you need a bigger bowl. I like to use grapeseed oil. That's why it's kind of green colored. It won't make your pancakes green, don't worry. There's some salt I'm mixing in. The sugar, that is an option. You don't have to have sugar. After I have that mixed, it's baking powder and baking soda. Now this is when you have to really work fast because it doesn't take it very long and it starts expanding. That's why sometimes a bigger bowl is better. So you want to incorporate that well. There can be a few lumps in pancake batter. It's just your flour, it'll be fine. See how it's starting to bubble up? Let's work fast. I'm using 2 cast iron griddles on my stove, about medium heat, and I still have to work fast. See how it's starting to want to overflow even? I'm going to get 2 pancakes out there. By the time I get about 4 pancakes done, I'm really pretty good. I don't really have to worry about it overflowing. I just keep stirring it so it doesn't overflow. And I just wait for those bubbles to start to pop, and then I can just flip it over. And we have pancakes. We have lots of pancakes. This recipe will make a little over 20 pancakes. And so they're just cooling. My bread has at the 45 minutes. I'm going to put water in that other pan. The rolls cook for 30 minutes. The bread cooks about 40-45 minutes, depending on your oven. You can let the rolls rise even longer while your bread's cooking. I'm going to cook them at the same time, though, today. While that's cooking, I am going to make Joe's breakfast, which is actually our lunch today. So I'm just slicing up some potatoes, and this just works slick as can be. You can use a knife, you can cut them in squares, cubes, whatever. Okay, cast iron pan. I put a little bit of coconut oil in there. I am going to add butter a little bit later. So I'm just pouring all of those potatoes in there. It's about 3 small potatoes. That's plenty for ours. Joe always likes a little more potatoes than I do. And I like to use this Dakota seasoning. It's got salt and pepper and some different spices in it. It's kind of fun. I like to add it to meat also. And so it's just cooking away. When it's ready to flip over, when they've started to brown a little bit, that's when I'm going to add the butter. So I'm just going to work those a little bit. My heat is on medium also. I do love cast iron, so I use it a lot. And there's the butter added in there. I think it gives it a good flavor. And the oil, the coconut oil, will let it brown a little bit first. And I'm going to throw on some turkey sausage patties. And I'll let those cook for a while. The rolls are out of the oven, and look what happened. I broke that dish that had water underneath it. Luckily, everything was covered. Nothing got in my food. But there's my bread. It is beautiful, fabulous. And I like making different designs on it. So everything is on a cooling rack right now.
That was a fun morning. And I didn't even go outside. I didn't show you anything outside. But I got the bread made, the rolls made, 21 pancakes plus 1 pancake for Reagan, so 22. And fixed Joe breakfast lunch because we don't eat it until about noon. We ate at 11:30. It's not quite noon yet. But it was a good, satisfying day. Don't you like that when you get all these things done, things just go, go, go. Other than me breaking that glass pan dish, everything went well. I got to wear my new shirt. It's got pockets. I thought it was perfect for painting in. I only had to pay $10 for it. It was clearance, 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 clearance. I don't usually wear orange. I like orange, but I don't wear a lot of orange. But I just thought it was so fun and full, and you could move around, and this is a size small. Can you imagine if I would have got a medium or a large? Oh my gosh. This is Sandi, Apple Cottage, SuburbanHomesteaderWY-AZ, Arizona. What'd you do this morning? I'll see you next time.